Welcome back to the Cover 2 Zone. The wild card round is over. The NFL playoffs 2025 have started, and it was a bumper weekend of games. A couple of surprises maybe in there. Lots to talk about. We're going to go through the games, and then we're going to look ahead to the divisional round as a kind of overview. We're not going to go game by game. You can get that on other better NFL podcasts elsewhere if you really want to dig into everything. Those guys have got the stats. We're here to talk some
rubbish.
Yeah, we're here to talk some rubbish.
We're chopping it up.
And let's start with the Panthers and the Rams then. 31-34 to the Rams in Carolina, and fair play to the Panthers. We thought this was going to be a rout. We thought the Panthers were lucky to get into the playoffs with a losing record.
We said the Rams would have their backup in the second quarter. I mean,
yeah, and it did not turn out that way, did it? Fair play to the Panthers. They came so close to a huge upset, even though they lost. The Panthers have had a really impressive season, and they were probably the most impressive team in this game, I would have to say. But I think the difference being just Stafford especially, and the players on that Rams team just had that little bit more big game and playoff experience than the Panthers, and that showed in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, I think you saw Stafford drive down the field. What a great throw and catch from the tight end. Was it Parkinson, I believe? And then, yeah, kind of Panthers showed their experience for really bad plays. I don't know if they were bad calls or just Bryce Young. It seemed like he kept rolling out to the left on that final drive, and he just couldn't handle the pressure. But lots of promise for the Carolina Reaper. I do like me some Bryce Young. I think he got a lot of hate early on, and it's good to see him shine a little bit. And yeah, I tell you what a great cornerback pairing. Mike Jackson and JC Horn. Really, really good corner pairing.
Yeah. I wasn't so hot on Jackson a couple of years ago, but he has really improved. Really, yeah, as you said, from Bryce Young, really gutsy performance again from him. We've talked at length in the regular season and over parts of last season that he's shown a lot of maturity and a lot of guts to come back from a tough rookie season, and he made some brilliant plays in this game, some fantastic plays, especially to Jalen Coker, who played a big role in this game. Didn't see much of Ted McMillan at all really in this game. It was mainly Jalen Coker, and then I think going back to that inexperience, I think Jimmy Horn's drop just at the end of that game kind of summed that up for me, that there's two teams, or the Carolina Panthers were that team who just didn't quite have that extra bit to go one step further. They don't quite have that big game experience, and I think that was summed up by Jimmy Horn's drop. In that big moment, he can't come down with that catch and keep the game alive. But it's such a positive season still for the Panthers, and Dave Canales and Bryce Young and all of the team, all the staff there should be very, very encouraged going into next season, shouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And that division isn't a cakewalk, but it's up for
the taking now, right?
Yeah,
it's going to be really interesting next year. If the Bucks have not been the same Bucks that we expect them to kind of walk the division. We always thought maybe the Falcons would come good this season. That hasn't happened, so I think it's really open. The Saints haven't been as bad as we all thought, so it's been really open. And it's going to be a really interesting division next year, and hopefully not another losing division. I hope this division as a whole gets better, and I think it will. Whether we see some movements with Carolina kind of overtaking Tampa Bay as kind of that lead team in that division, we'll have to see. But how do you evaluate the Rams' performance in this game? Was it an underwhelming performance from the Rams, or do you just think it was Carolina just played well and they were at home, they came out firing, and they were ready to play?
Yeah, exactly what you said in terms of playing at home. I think at the end of the day, they're a playoff team. I did think the Rams would kind of blow them out, and they didn't. Carolina put up a good fight. Atmosphere was brilliant. I really like to see that. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, kind of it being the low country and all. Although North Carolina, up for
Yeah,
debate. But
you're our Carolina correspondent, having lived there for
well, South Carolina, not
South
North
Carolina,
Carolina.
sure,
Very
but
different.
they're not the North Carolina Panthers, though.
No. No, it was really good to it's really cool to see Carolina do well. And I think there is a lot of promise going into next season. But more on the Rams, I think probably they were caught surprised by the Panthers. Maybe they probably went into that game with a lot of confidence. The stadium was rocking, and they got shook a bit. But at the end of the day, they had Matthew Stafford, who drove down the field, scored a touchdown, and their defense held strong on that final drive. So that's all
Yeah,
she
I think
wrote.
they'll need to improve in the next round, though, and we'll get on to that. But I didn't think it was, we said at the start of the season that the Rams are one of the strongest teams in the whole of the NFL, and definitely a contender for the Super Bowl. And I still think that, but that playoff performance to me didn't really look like a team that I would back to win the Super Bowl necessarily if they carry on in that vein. But of course, we know that this team can go to another level as well, and we'll have to see if that happens. Let's move on then. Sorry, we are going to have to talk about this game. The Jags 24, the Bills 27. Heartbreak for the Jags. Yet again, Josh Allen and the Bills find a way to get it done. And I kind of said I hate to kind of be right on this, but apart from the walk-off field goal, exactly as I kind of feared that the game would go, kind of happened. You give Josh Allen 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and he get down by 4, and that's an ominous sight for the Jags, and he turned out to make something happen yet again for the Bills, didn't he?
It came down to time. It came down to inches. It was a tight game. I think I think I even said that the only scenario or game script I don't want is a close game, and because they had, like you were saying, they just prove able to get it done in those key situations. I don't think we played particularly bad. I don't think it was, oh, we showed our experience or anything like that. We actually had a good game. Trevor's final 2 drives he scored on. I probably would have liked to see more aggression from our defense. The one big play, we didn't give up many chunk plays, to be honest. The one big play to Brandon Cooks was a killer. I think it was just miscommunication from the DBs. It is what it is. You were correct, and it's sad, but simultaneously much better than last season for sure. So,
And
glass half full.
I've got to ask the question, because I said to you at this time, or I said to you, if that happens, which I wasn't exactly right, it wasn't quite a walk-off field goal, but it went a very similar way to what I said. Do you now hate the Buffalo Bills? Are you kind of filled with that feeling of they were there for the taking, and that this team is, apart from Josh Allen and maybe James Cook and a few others, that they're not actually that good a team, and it fills you with rage like it does me, that you're probably a better team on paper, you've probably got the better weapons, and they just seem to find a way because of Josh Allen?
To be honest, for my ego, I hope they go on and win it all, because how I feel about it.
Somebody hate the Bills with me, please.
How I feel about it is, I think those were arguably the 2 best teams in the AFC.
Okay.
I know you did. I know you. I know you
Okay.
disagree.
No,
I know you disagree, but it was definitely the best matchup of the week for the AFC, and it's unfortunate we played really well, and we came across and had to play Josh Allen's Bills. We didn't get to play OAP Steelers or Chargers with brittle
Yeah.
bones Herbert and say brittle bones. It's not really brittle bones, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just it is what it is. I'm a bit salty. I can't lie.
What went on with that tush push that Allen got? That's got to be the most yards on a tush push I've ever seen. The one before they got into the end zone. Your guys seem to.
We were trying to drag him into the end zone.
Do you think that
Yeah.
Do you think it was let them score and we'll get the ball back?
I don't.
Or your players just maybe heard a whistle somewhere and the whistle hadn't gone. That just seemed a really odd play to me.
I don't think it was in. I think it probably was a case of we wanted to stop them, and when it became clear that he very easily cleared the line, some of our players probably were like, "Well, let's get him in the end zone." Or we just got bullied. I don't know, but I know for sure when he was on the one and they ran whatever they ran to score that final go-ahead touchdown, I saw Josh Allen jump backwards. So Josh Hines Allen, sorry. So we were definitely trying to let him score. It is what it is.
There was a nice moment after the game in the press conference where a reporter, praised Liam Cohen and basically said, great job, keep your head held high. This is your team. We're all proud of you, and you've done a fantastic job this season. And that's huge, isn't it? Because the NFL and kind of American sports media, it's even the pressure is even more on these coaches and on these players in America than even we get in the Premier League, isn't it? There's local news crews, local news outlets in Jacksonville that will know absolutely everything that team does, and they will scrutinize everything that team does. And to have the people who write the headlines about you, quite a lot of the time negative headlines about you, really back you in your corner and say, yeah, you're our guy, and we believe in you, and this is your team, and we want you here, must be a real confidence boost on obviously what is going to be an emotional moment for Liam Cohen, having just lost that game.
I think it just shows a little bit of kind of the Jacksonville as a city as is, really, because I know a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, no one cares about Jacksonville, move them to London," sort of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'd be great to go watch them every week for me, but that city is very much behind the team and has been. Yes, sometimes you see a lot of away fans in the stadiums because they're willing to pay money, and these local fans can make a lot of money from selling their tickets and things like that. But it's a small market team, and it's been a very well supported team through a lot of shit years. And I think that was a really nice piece from the reporter. Kind of just like it did feel like it was like Jacksonville versus the world all season sort of thing. Like constant disrespect throughout the season, even in this game. Like we weren't the betting favorites when we were the home team, and like you said, I don't think Buffalo's better than us. No. So despite winning that game, I really don't. So yeah, it was a really nice piece, and I think Liam Cohen appreciated it a lot.
Yes, you could see on his face that he was playing it quite cool, but you could see that it really did mean a lot to him. Yeah, it did mean a lot to him. Moving on then to the Chicago Bears 31, the Green Bay Packers 27. Another fantastic back and forth game, divisional game as well. The only divisional matchup we had in the playoffs. Unfortunately, though, is going to come down to Brandon McManus, who missed 3 kicks, leaving 7 points out there. And a real game of two halves, this one. The Bears were very slow and sloppy in the first half. They were a shell of themselves that we've seen in the last couple of weeks leading into the playoffs. Packers led 21-3 at the half, and then the second half, Caleb came out firing. He found Colston Loveland a lot in this game. And the Bears defense seemed to wake up and become the Bears defense that we've kind of seen in the last few weeks as well. And they got some stops that really kept Caleb in touch and gave the Bears a chance in this game. And it came down then to, it's not all down to the kickers, but it does show the importance of kicking in the league. Cairo Santos was perfect all game, and McManus misses 3 kicks and ends up losing for his team. And it does show the importance in especially the playoffs and the big moments of special teams and kicking as well, doesn't it?
I don't want to say karma is a thing, but it kind of is interesting. The Packers decide to sign a kicker with off the field issues, and it's come back to bite them. I know it's not. There may be
to do with the actual,
there may be zero correlation, but I do feel like these things happen time and time again. But yeah, the kick is a vital position. I mean, not to bring it back to the Jags, but Little missed the kick, and if we have those 3 points, it's a different game. So yeah, kickers, time on the clock, and coaching and the quarterback are probably the most important things for the NFL these days, to be honest.
Does this show the kind of mental fortitude that Caleb Williams and probably Ben Johnson have as well to have such a poor first half and to be down 18 points to your rivals at home, your biggest rivals arguably at home, really not really getting much, and then you find a way with the likes of Loveland. He's not been. He's been important for the Bears this season, but he's not been the primary receiver. And he was absolutely outstanding in this game. Does that show the kind of mental fortitude that a young quarterback like Caleb Williams has to be able to come out in that second half and completely change the way he's playing and flip the script?
I've been saying it all season. People hate on him because he's a bit zesty, but he is actually a dog. Like, he is a very good quarterback, and Ben Johnson is also a very, very good coach. He's character-wise, I'm not overwhelmed with him. I wasn't. The LaFleur exchange was a little bit interesting, but it's good. But at the same time, that's quite cool because he came from the Lions. They have experience together, and there is clearly a rivalry there. And it will probably, unless LaFleur goes at some point, it will be there for quite some time.
There's big rivalries in this division, isn't there? Yeah. Historic rivalries that are clearly still there. And that was, a big talk of Ben Johnson going to the Bears from the Lions in the first place was, a lot to do with that they are divisional rivals, and it's arguably maybe you single out the AFC North as well as the other division where those rivalries are probably the biggest. You think of the Steelers-Ravens rivalry, the Browns and the Bengals, the Browns and the Steelers as well. The NFC North is probably that division in the NFC where the rivalries are arguably the strongest as well, aren't they?
I think NFL full stop is. Well, I mean, we've been hyping up this division all season, haven't we? It's the most competitive division. Love the inter-rivalries between coaches, and then obviously the historical rivalries. And yeah, they've had interesting, like, for example, Montgomery used to play for the Bears and things like that, and there's just kind of small connections a lot with those teams, and it's cool to see in the NFL. Players fight. Wasn't there a little scuffle before the game as well, I believe? I can't remember exactly. I didn't watch the pre-match, but I saw someone mention it.
Didn't see that. But let's talk about the Packers then. A disappointing end to their season, first round exit in the playoffs when, at the start of the season they looked really, really good. Particularly the defense, particularly the defensive front. The likes of Rashawn Gary and stuff they were just eating up quarterbacks, it seemed. And yes, they lost Micah Parsons, which is a big loss. But they've kind of limped into the finish almost, haven't they? They've had some up and down games, and obviously then the Bears are a good team. This is not by any means a gimme game for them. That they should be winning, and it could have gone either way. But it's kind of been a disappointing end to a season that could have been something for the Packers, it feels.
I I thought the Packers would be the best team in the division, and like you said, it does feel like they've limped a bit to the finish line. I I felt like there was opportunity for them to kind of really show themselves as contenders this year, and they just haven't really. The Bears, by far and away, have been the best team in that division, and that showed. And yeah, love a fourth quarter comeback, dogfight, and I think that's going to be a huge momentum swing for Chicago.
What do you think the issue then for the Packers has been when we mentioned that limping into the finish, and then in that game, obviously we talked about Caleb Williams' ability to come out in that second half and flip the script almost from the first half, and it seemed the opposite for Jordan Love. He came out pretty well in the first half, and they got out to that 18-point lead, and then really struggled to get anything going in the second half. Really, just 6 points, 2 field goals in the one touchdown. But that was missed by McManus. The extra point was missed by McManus, but they really struggled to get anything going then in the second half. What do you kind of put that down to, and where they've kind of gone wrong this season?
So they lost Micah Parsons, obviously, which is a massive loss. I can't remember who it was, but I think I had a friend of mine mention LaFleur makes sometimes quite questionable decisions.
I was going to say, is it a kind of coordinating issue, a coaching issue, or do you? Jordan Love's been good, right?
Yeah, and LaFleur, I do think LaFleur is a good coach. To be honest, I mean, I know they have solid receivers all around, but they don't actually have a true number one. And I know that's not the be all and end all. I don't like, okay, New England's done very well. You could say Stephon Diggs is their number one, but I feel like similar situation, lots of good receivers. I think in the NFL, you kind of just need that alpha to like throw the ball to get you out of tight situations.
Well, to be fair, and you raise a good point there, because I'm trying to think of who is the Packers number one. Could it be Christian Watson? Romeo Doubs has stepped up this season, but then when they were performing well at the start of the season, Tucker Kraft seemed to be the one that really was getting over the first down marker and really making splash plays for them. And obviously, he was out for the season in around about week 8, week 9, something like that. So that's a big miss for them as well, and they've kind of missed his big time play, haven't they?
I say it's a hard one. I say that, but like looking at my not to bring Jacksonville up again, but looking at my own team, we've got receivers that fit their exact archetype. We've got the X in BTJ, we've got the slot in Parker Washington, we've got the flanker in Jacoby, and I'm sure the Packers are similar in that situation. But I just don't like listing off the names I've just listed off compared to the Packers receivers, and it might be my bias, but I just don't think it's a similar level. I don't think Jordan Love's receiving core is up to scratch.
Maybe they just need a little bit more time. Obviously, Matthew Golden's a rookie.
Yes, that is a good point.
Christian Watson's had injuries. He came back.
He's always had injuries.
Yeah,
always.
He has. And Romeo Doubs has always been a kind of bit part player. He's probably had his best year. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it seems like Romeo Doubs has been more of a factor this season than any NFL season that I've watched him in. Again, don't quote me on that. I don't have the numbers, but just from the eye test, it seems like he has. Let's move on then to the Philadelphia Eagles 19, the San Francisco 49ers 23. The reigning champs dumped out in the first round. And we talked about the offensive concerns for them, and they've come true. A.J. Brown was horrible in this game, wasn't he? And it's a first-round exit for the Eagles. And I'm not too disappointed that they're out, to be honest with you.
They're a very boring team, to be honest. I think Sirianni's a bit of a cock as well. I don't really like him.
Well, we'll come on to that in a sec.
Yeah, and I think the 49ers. Shanahan, I saw an interesting stat. Despite Tomlin having, I think, 10 more years on Shanahan. Shanahan has more playoff wins than Mike Tomlin.
Yeah,
When he's there, he gets it done.
yeah. Although Tomlin has won a Super Bowl, that it must be said.
Yes.
But yeah, a pretty defensive game as we expected. These two teams, they're probably two teams that you talk about that kind of game manager at quarterback, Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy. They're not elite arm talents, are they? They're not,
No.
elite playmakers, but they are both very good at game managing and playing within their scheme. And so we thought this would be a kind of short and medium yard, yeah, kind of and they're two very good defenses as well. And it turned out that way. I mean, 19-23 is not a high scoring game. It's not a low scoring game, but it's kind of average, I guess, for the NFL these days. But it did seem a bit more dull than that probably suggests. But yeah, 49ers, they're just a solid team, aren't they? And I said it last week. I'm continually impressed with the adversity that they've had to deal with this season, and they get even more now. George Kittle went down with a pretty serious knee injury, I believe
Fred
it was.
Warner's back though. Fred Warner.
That is a
back.
huge that's a huge boost for them. But George Kittle going down, and obviously he's going to be out for however long they continue in the playoffs. They just seem to, I don't know what is going on in that athletic training staff room with their players. They're made of glass, and they continue to have that next man up mentality, and they have, it shows how much depth, I suppose, that they have in that team, and that the floor is so high there. The ceiling might not be that high, but the floor is very high as well. And there's a lot, and that goes down to good coaching. That goes down to what Shanahan's created there. Eagles did a nice job of containing Christian McCaffrey. Purdy did a nice job as well of just finding his receivers like Jennings in space. He found him a few times over the middle with those kind of crossing routes, and put Jennings one-on-one with a safety that had to break into a different zone, and just got him into space where he could make more plays. And then the Eagles get the ball back with just under 3 minutes to go, down by 4, and they can't get anything. Just that gritty 49ers defense again. And it's cost Kevin Patullo, the Eagles OC, his job. And I saw a lot of Eagles fans calling for that even before the decision was made.
On the note on the medical team, do you think they went to the same university as the Spurs medical team?
Possibly, yeah.
They just always have an injury bug, don't they, the 49ers? Yeah. But yeah, agree with your sentiment about adversity. It shows how great a coach Shanahan is. They lose Kittle, but they get Warner, so I don't know how that kind of marries up in terms of balance of the team and things like that. But yeah. Similar to you, I'm actually glad to see the back of the Eagles. Every Eagles game I watched this year was incredibly boring. I stayed up to watch one of the 1 a.m. games, and I was like, why have I done this? This is just so rubbish. So it's good to see them gone.
And we saw Nick Sirianni get into it with AJ Brown a little bit. I think it was AJ Brown wasn't getting off the field quick enough on a change or something, and Sirianni went off at him, and then AJ Brown seemingly had to be held back by some of the coaches there from his head coach, and what do you just chalk that up to just a ding dong in the moment and just emotions running high on the sideline, or do you think there's something a little bit deeper? We know AJ Brown's got an ego, right? We know he's probably not Walter Payton Man of the Year in terms of his attitude and his acumen as a teammate. The people on his team might disagree. I don't know, but that's the way he comes across. You're nodding your head. You think there's further problems here?
I disagree I don't actually think he's a bad bloke. And I think every alpha receiver is a diva in the NFL, because you have to be. Because if you don't get those targets and you don't get those receptions and you don't get those statistics, that's because it's all about the next paycheck and bonuses and incentives. Like, say it was a contract year and he had a bad year, well, that dramatically reduces his market rate and things like that. So you have to be. I know people don't like it because it's a team sport and things like that, but I understand his frustration. I think it's been building all year. Like how many times? Even last year, like
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback. He is a game manager, and that offense is so capped with Jalen Hurts at the helm, and I think AJ Brown faces the brunt of that, and he'll be the scapegoat. But whoever he lands next year, he's going to go off as long as they're a half decent quarterback.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about kind of some of the higher ins and fire ins after the season.
Yeah.
We'll round some of those off when there's a little bit more clarity. But moving on then to the Patriots against the Chargers. Patriots win it 16-3, comfortable win for the Pats in the end. A first playoff win for Drake May as well, who was pretty impressive. Not overly impressive, but he didn't have to do a lot because the Chargers offense was not impressive at all. I thought Justin Herbert really, and I love him as a player. I think he's an excellent quarterback. I think he's an elite quarterback, but I really think his approach to this game was wrong. He seemed to put it all on himself to try and do. He held onto the ball for way too long and allowed the Patriots D line, which is a decent enough D line, but it's not like the Texans or the Broncos um, or anything like that, or the Steelers even. He let them get to him, and he ran a lot. He obviously didn't. It just seemed like he didn't trust any of his teammates. Now that might be down to really good coverage from the Patriots, and I'm sure it was. I'm sure the Chargers receivers weren't getting open down the field, and obviously that's a big problem as well. But he just looked like to me that he didn't trust any of his teammates, which is not something we've seen from Justin Herbert. He will throw the ball down the field. He will take a few chances. He's not afraid to throw a pick if it has got a high percentage chance of being a big play. And it just seemed a really odd strategy from him. And I was really disappointed. Again, the Chargers are just allergic to winning playoff games, and their fans just must be so frustrated.
He's still not won a playoff game, has he?
I don't think so, no. I don't
No.
think they have for God knows how long.
Since like LaDainian Tomlinson or something,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it a bit before. He was trying to be Superman, and he potentially didn't need to be, or he may felt he needed to be. Yeah, it's. I wasn't confident they were going to go in and win that game anyway. I would have loved it because, yeah, I don't think the Patriots are particularly special. I think they're a solid all-around team. But yeah, I think given the Chargers, it's the same story every year. Like, can only repeat ourselves so much.
It's like the Cowboys, right? In the regular season, the Chargers in the playoffs are kind of like the Cowboys in the regular season. They're always going to let you down, it seems. And yeah, I mean, before we came on air, you talked about potentially seeing a stat that the PFF rating of some of the Chargers offensive line was some of the worst around the NFL, and I had seen that in the regular season as well. Obviously, they lost Rashawn Slater before the season, and Joe Alt is now out as well. So their best two offensive linemen are out. But it wasn't, to me, like the Pats weren't just coming off the ball and getting through untouched all the time. It didn't seem that way. It was a normal amount of time for a quarterback to have to throw for me, which, we're probably underplaying the coverage job that the Pats did in this game, because obviously when you're watching on the TV, you only see the angle of the line and you don't see downfield what's happening downfield. So I can only guess that the coverage from the Pats was extremely good, and that secondary is a strength of theirs and has been pretty good all season. And that won the game for them ultimately. They didn't really have to do too much. It's a really solid performance from them, and they could be dangerous in this playoffs.
Yeah, like you say, you can only know so much from watching the game and the highlights and things like that. I'm sure our 3 viewers know we don't sit and watch the all 22.
No.
But
I've got that amount of time.
I think I think you're right. There was there was times, and that's the thing. The O linemen always face the brunt of quarterbacks getting sacked and
Yeah,
things like that. But more often than not, it's a multitude of reasons. Receivers not getting open, quarterback holding the ball too long. It's an unforgiving position, O line. But yeah, their O
yeah,
line in particular is actually pretty shit.
yeah. It hasn't been great this year, and that is a position that Jim Harbaugh's going to have to look at next season, if they really want to, because there is, we've talked about it so much. There is so much potential with this team, and I do feel like they are a playoff team. We said about the Panthers, probably not a playoff team. I think the Chargers, by and large, for what they've played like throughout the season, especially how they started as well. Similarly to the Packers when we talked about them earlier, with the strong start of the Chargers, they came out, they looked awesome, and then they've just really dropped off, and that playoff performance just kind of summed it all up. Last game, then we're gonna recap from the wildcard round. The Pittsburgh Steelers 6, the Houston Texans 30. A dominant display from the Texans, the number one defense in the league, and they showed why, which proved to be Mike Tomlin's final game as Steelers head coach. And before we talk about the game, let's talk about Mike Tomlin a little bit. 19 years at the Steelers, already going to be one of the greatest coaches of all time in the NFL. And it seems like he's going to take a bit of a break from coaching. It seems to be the indication. Who knows? He might get a great offer that he can't refuse, and come back. We'll have to wait and see. But hopefully we'll see him back soon, because he's a legend, and he's just been amazing for this franchise, hasn't he?
I think he stepped away because he knows that
Yeah,
team needs a rebuild, and he is not a rebuilding
yeah,
coach. He
yeah.
doesn't want to sit there and ruin his individual records and watch his team tank and things like that. So yeah, legend of a coach. Mr. 500 himself. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and that is the thing that people talk about with Mike Tomlin. 19 years to finish with a winning record is not easy in the NFL, with the way it's structured. To give teams that are crap a chance with the draft picks and the way the draft system works, and it goes through cycles. We all know this. To have that consistency for 19 years shows how good a coach he is, and how, not only as a football coach, but as a decision maker for that franchise as well. He's working with the GMs, he's working with the owner to draft the right players and develop the right players and trade for the right players and bring the right players, cut the right players, bring in the right players year upon year upon year. And that's a really attractive prospect for a lot of teams who, particularly, as I said to you before we came on air, my Miami Dolphins are a team that has not been managed well, and we could really do with a Mike Tomlin figure to come in and just put a sensible head, I think, on things. But we'll have to wait and see where he lands. But let's discuss the game then. The Texans defense are the story in this game. Two defensive scores, one scoop and score for Sheldon Rankins, and then a pick six for Bullock right at the end. And that was despite CJ Stroud having some really bad issues handling the ball and some communication issues with his center in this game. CJ, you're not hot on CJ Stroud, as we all know. And this performance kind of proved you right more than me. He really needed his defense to bail him out, and they did.
Yeah, and he was talking shit after the game. I would not be talking shit after that
No,
performance.
no, I agree with you.
It's
Yeah.
it's like getting your big brother to beat someone up, and then
Yes.
you
Yeah.
going like, yeah, hold that. It's like, bro,
Yeah.
grow up.
Standing behind the big kid and going, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that. He shouldn't be really shouting too much about his own. Look at yourself in the mirror, CJ. However, I do think those are just issues that can happen in a game, and they'll clean that up. And otherwise, his play was fairly strong. I talked about some of the receivers stepping up on this team. Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins have stepped up for this team.
Charlie Kirk.
Oh, did you see that? Oh, that was bad. So anyone who hasn't seen it, Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, I think, when discussing this game, accidentally called Christian Kirk Charlie Kirk. and the presenter was quick to correct him, and he sort of went, "I apologize." Oh my God. Yeah, that was an unfortunate slip of the tongue, because it was definitely not Charlie Kirk catching balls. But yeah, Christian Kirk had a huge game. And then Woody Marks as well, who's really, really impressed me this season. And I tell you who he reminds me of, and it's funny that it was against the Steelers. Le'Veon Bell. You know, Le'Veon Bell had that really patient. He'd wait for that gap to open. He'd wait to see where his gap was going to open and then explode through it. I think Woody Marks is kind of a little bit of the second coming of Lev Bell. Hopefully he doesn't act like a diva like Lev Bell did, and he just gets on with it. But yeah, what did you make of this? I've been telling you about this Texans defense. You've been sort of slightly less convinced by the Texans as a team. You have to admit this, especially that defensive front, is scary.
Let me correct you. I have been critical of CJ Stroud.
Okay. Okay.
You've just listed off basically head to toe how Jaden Higgins, Nico Collins, Charlie Kirk.
We can't call him that. We cannot call him that.
Woody Marks. Their O-line's fairly solid, and yet there's no denying the defense is stacked. CJ Stroud's ass, like, he's just not good.
He's not though, is he? He makes some
Oh,
mistakes.
brother, he stinks. He's not good.
He is good. That maybe I'm clinging on to that rookie year. Maybe and what I saw from that rookie
when
year
he was throwing
like,
to wide open receivers. Yeah, he was.
When I saw that there's some of the come on, some of the plays he made in that rookie season were world class, and it was kind of what we saw from Jaden Daniels last season, right?
World class
in his rookie year, 100%.
He's 100%. A pocket passer. Yeah, he had good timing last year. No, threw it with anticipation and threw it to the open receiver. He is not elite. He doesn't have elite arm strength. He's not a super athlete. To suggest that he's like, I'm not saying
he is now, because obviously the last 2 years have not been that level of his rookie. I'm not saying that. I was saying he was world class in his rookie year. Some of the plays he made in his rookie year were world class. If you go back and watch the tape, so many times in that year he's not just a pocket passer. He would roll out of the pocket, escape, extend plays, and make mad throws down the field like a Mahomes does, like a Josh Allen does. He was making those type of plays like Jaden Daniels did last season. Obviously didn't do this season, and I'm hoping Jaden Daniels doesn't go down that route as well of having an amazing first year and then falling off. But let's agree to disagree on CJ Stroud, and let's see what he does in the next round. Anyway, and hopefully, well, I will be right.
Have you seen the iconic meme of CJ Stroud talking to Caleb Williams after the game, and Caleb Williams face? Oh, because CJ Stroud beat him, and then like he was like almost trying to big bro him, and Caleb was like, "Okay, buddy, yeah, sure," because Caleb knows he's the better quarterback. So
yeah, Steelers wasn't a bad performance really from the Steelers, especially the defense. They played well, but then Aaron Rodgers really struggled in the end against this excellent defense. The defensive front for Houston just got after him all game. We mentioned some of those names: Sheldon Rankins, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson Jr. were just dogs on raw meat. And you kind of talked about it last week of Rodgers not having that mobility, and they sensed that obviously in this game. They knew he wouldn't be able to escape the pocket, and they just went after him, and they absolutely killed him, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, he's an OAP at this point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, their D line is absolutely stacked, and it's no surprise. I mean, the Steelers are lucky to be there, to be honest. And I think you ask any team in the NFL who they want to play in the first round. I think I would rather play the Steelers than the Panthers in the first round. And that's not even hindsight. Genuinely.
No, come on. With the Aaron Rodgers factor was always there.
Yes, I agree. There was an element of Aaron Rodgers' experience and things like that. But the Steelers haven't been very convincing, have they?
And with Metcalf came back for this week as well.
Yes, I agree, but he dropped it, didn't he? So
The Steelers haven't been, and the defense has struggled this season. And what I will say, as hot as I am on the Texans, the score line in this game was probably harsh on the Steelers. It was that,
very flattering.
That pick six, that pick six in the last knock-ins when Rodgers was trying to come back and make a play. So I do think that the score line 30-6 wasn't totally reflective of the game. It was actually really close and low scoring going into the half. So as hot as I am on the Texans, it wasn't a blowout. It wasn't a blowout as the scoreline suggests. And I think like TJ Watt had a good game. He got after CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud got strip sacked a few times and obviously threw a few picks as well. So Houston's defense, they conceded. Pittsburgh conceded 2 offensive touchdowns. So the defense had a solid game. It was just one of those really. But yeah. The end for Mike Tomlin, and we'll have to see Aaron Rodgers. Did you see at the end as well in his press conference? He was talking about Pittsburgh as a city and as a footballing city, and he talked about how brilliant the fans were and how great a franchise it was, and then said, "I've been lucky enough to play for 2 of those in my career." Obviously, meaning Pittsburgh and Green Bay, and not the Jets. So he threw some even more dirt on the Jets, just as he was kicking them when they're down.
It's like the Jets are just like in the off season and they're still getting shit on. Jesus, yeah.
Yeah. So those were the wild card games. Let's move on to the divisional matchups then, and just talk about them kind of broadly and generally. You got the Denver Broncos against the Buffalo Bills, the Seattle Seahawks against the San Francisco 49ers, the New England Patriots hosting the Houston Texans, and the Chicago Bears against the LA Rams. What game is standing out there for you?
I like Josh Allen going to Mile High quite a lot. I think that would be really good. That's a great game. And
Seattle San Fran is the one that's jumping out for me, I would say.
That's the thing. Both those games are excellent. I think the Pats still dog walk the Texans, to be honest, but that's just me.
We disagree. We disagree. Go on.
No, all I was going to say was I think the game in Denver is really good because you've got Superman versus a very elite defense. And yeah, I agree. Seattle versus 49ers is probably the better game because of that kind of divisional rivalry. So wait and see.
Yeah, and I want to bring up a sort of theme with 2 of these games. The Denver game, Denver against the Bills, and the Bears against the Rams. Is that a case of what we kind of saw with the Panthers-Rams game, where it's experience against youth, right? It's Stafford against Caleb Williams, and it's Josh Allen against Bo Nix. Do you think that that's going to play a big factor in this? Is experience? We talked about that Josh Allen factor in the Jags game, and the same with Matthew Stafford in that Panthers game. Do you think that's going to play a factor, or do you think that Caleb Williams and Bo Nix and their respective offenses are then a step above the kind of, the Panthers, for example?
Objectively looking at it, it's in Chicago, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. And we saw the Panthers, who are not similar level to Chicago, but you've got that home atmosphere behind you. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears beat the Rams. I really believe in Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I think they're excellent. So I don't think it will come down to experience with that one. I think the Bears have plenty of experience in different avenues.
I think if the Rams play like they did against the Panthers, the Bears will beat them.
Yes.
I think that's they're going to have to raise those levels from that game, because there were parts of that game where they were brilliant. There was parts of the game Matt Stafford was brilliant, but there wasn't that complete performance. They let the Panthers get ahead a lot of the time, and I think they're going to have to raise those levels. You said you thought that the Pats would cakewalk the Texans. That's not the word you used, but I'm paraphrasing.
I think I said steamroll.
Steamroll. Okay, there you go. Really? This defense gonna get steamrolled?
Yes. It's in New
Really?
England. No, I'm
It's
not
a
saying
big
I'm not.
test for Drake May. This is a big test for Drake May.
I'm not saying the defense will get steamrolled, but you saw what the Pats defense did to Justin Herbert, who is 10 times the quarterback that CJ Stroud is. So, I mean, we'll wait and see, but I think the Texans won't score a lot of points, and I think the Pats have shown. Okay, I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game, but I think they'll.
No, I don't. I think that this is going to be a defensive battle. If any of those 4 games are going to be a defensive battle, this is the one that's going to be the most, I think.
So it's 2 good defenses, and both these quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, let's say, have to work out how to beat him. Who would you put your money on? Give me the kid who's like the MVP front runner. Not front runner. You know what I mean.
We'll come to predictions in a second. But I think Strat like that, those issues that he had with the snap and with the thing, they'll get cleaned up in the week. And apart from that, he played pretty well, you know, and obviously that is a big factor. When you fumble 3 balls and you cough up possession, that is a big factor. But I just think this defense. I mean, Drake May has got much more escapability than Aaron Rodgers did. He's got a good O-line, and they're gonna be really tested this week. And I think Drake May is gonna have to get rid of the ball a lot sooner than perhaps what he's used to, which will also suit the Texans, I think, because they're not only is their defensive line very good, their secondary is very good as well. The likes of Stingley, Lassiter, Bullock have really put together a nice secondary there as well. So it's going to be, I think it'll be a really close game. But yeah, I do like that match. I will be watching that one. And then Seattle, San Francisco is kind of the other one we haven't really, another divisional matchup. I think they've split the series this season. I think 1 win each. And you know, Seattle come into this playoffs obviously having the bye in the first round. They've been really, really good this season, but you can never write off this 49ers team, can you? Especially even away from home.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks should really win, but exactly like you say, it's hard to doubt Shanahan and what the 49ers, they might limp their way. I don't want to say limp their way to Super Bowl, but you know what I mean. So
yeah,
really
they're not gonna wow you, are they? They're gonna be really solid and kind of do what they need to do to win. It's not gonna light the world on fire, but it's very effective nonetheless.
And how much of an impact will losing Kittle be on the offense?
Yeah, that is, yeah. But as you said, they're getting Warner back, so that's a huge plus as well.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the predictions then. So just before we predict this week, I believe I've tied it up, if my maths are correct. Because I went 100% on the.
You did
I went
very well.
6 for 6 on the wild card games. And did you go 3 for 6?
I let my bias get
Yeah, you were
ahead
always
of
going
me.
to do that.
I was going to always pick the Jags, and I hate the Texans, so they can get.
Yeah, you picked against. And who else did you pick against? Did you go with the Steelers or the Packers?
I went with the Eagles, like an
Eagle.
idiot.
Oh, the Eagles.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, it's in Philadelphia, and they are the Super Bowl champs. Maybe they'll get it done. 49ers are hurt. Yada yada yada. I was wrong.
So
you were right.
It's all tied up. It is all tied up and all to play for again. So, Denver, Buffalo. Who are you going for?
Buffalo.
I think the Broncos beat them. I think they've just got enough at home as well.
I want Buffalo to win. That's the thing.
Yeah.
For my ego.
At least you can say, oh, well, at least we got beat by the Super Bowl champs.
Yes, exactly that.
Okay. Seahawks, 49ers.
Seahawks.
I've said in my
Back
bracket.
your boys. Back
Yeah,
your
I'm going to
boys.
back them. I'm going to back the 49ers.
Nice.
I've put in my bracket that they're going to win the Super Bowl, and I'm going to stick with that. New England, Houston.
Go on then. Go on. No.
You know who I'm taking.
Okay, I'm gonna take the Pats all day long. And when I say steamroll, it's gonna be like 17-3. That's what I mean.
Okay. And then finally, Bears, Rams. Are we going for a clean sweep of ones we disagree on?
You know what? I'll let you pick your team, and I'll pick the opposite team because
no. Do what
I
do
always
you
go
think?
first, mate. You
All
after
right.
you.
I'm going to say that Stafford is going to show his experience again, and I'm just going to have the Rams to just pip it.
That's great because I wanted to pick Chicago.
Okay, there we go.
Perfect. We're
Perfectly.
not playing it safe around here. I mean, I've got nothing to lose. I've given you double or nothing, so it is what it is.
You can't go back on that if I win, mind. There will unfortunately be no show next week as I am on holiday. We'll be back the following week to break down those games and look ahead to what will be the NFC Championship then, I believe. So thank you very much for watching. Enjoy this week's games, and we'll see you in a week's time.